Yeah.
All right. Is everyone doing okay so far?
Yes!
Good, all right.
Go, Dr. Eric!
Hey, I have to say I'm so humbled. I had so many folks come up afterwards and tell me just some testimonials about their health since they implemented just the genetic lifestyle changes and just some of the simple things, even the cell signaling formula. I had one young man from Japan come up a minute ago and told me that, and I remember meeting him in Japan, he was dealing with a condition known as epilepsy. You heard of this before? Yes, we made some changes to his lifestyle, and guess what? He hasn't had an episode since the last time we spoke about it. So his epilepsy has been, helped with this. We had another woman up here tell me about her chronic pain that's gone. So what I'm trying to tell you is little bitty tweaks lead to huge changes in your lifestyle. But it all comes down to one thing. It's the quality of the cellular health in your body. Now, many of you have heard me speak before that your cells have a vibration to them. Does anybody remember when we were in Las Vegas, I shared with you a couple videos and it showed cells that are vibrating. I'm going to show you some like that again, but I need you to understand that you are so much more than just the symptoms that you're dealing with or the diseases that you've got. So let's get into some of our products, some of the solutions we've got. Let's start talking about our cell signaling technology. So the first thing I want to show you is, this is a video, and I really want you to pay attention to this because this is what's inside your body. We have technology now. I remember when I first was going to school and going through medical school, and we looked under slides and we could see certain cells and amoebas, and now we can measure the individual little pieces inside of your cell. Now I want you to hear this. Your human body is so uniquely, divinely built. It's amazing what's inside the body. And it literally is like a bunch of little machinery inside your cells. And what I'm going to show you is how the inside of your cells are working. And if we can get these cells to do what they're supposed to do, that's going to improve the symptoms that you're dealing with. So it's not just, I've got pain, I've got digestive issues. You have those symptoms because of dysfunction with these cells. So watch this video. It's a very short video that talks about cells, mitochondria, energy, and much, much more. Did you guys make sure the volume is turned up?
All life on Earth depends on this tiny, energetic molecule, adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. ATP drives biochemical activity inside your living cells and is a key building block of DNA and RNA. Generating ATP for your living cells are mitochondria, electrochemical batteries that converts energy from the food you eat and oxygen from the air you breathe into ATP. So where does your ATP come from? Deep inside your mitochondria, rows of molecular motors generate ATP, the molecule essential to all life on Earth.
Look at how that little machine.
Enzymes bring together reactants to form a chemical bond, converting mechanical energy into chemical energy. A ring of enzymes work in step, creating 3 molecules of ATP with each cycle. Inside the molecular motor, a rotating axle powers the sequence. The axle is attached to a rotary molecular motor, moved by the force of protons pushing from the other side of the membrane. A difference in proton concentration propels the molecular mechanism. Synthesis of ATP. ATP drives biochemical activity inside your living cells and is a key building block of DNA and RNA.
So All these PowerPoints will be on biolimitless.com, and you'll have a better quality video of that you can see. But what I want you to pick up from that video was, inside your cell, you have trillions and trillions, hundreds of trillions of cells in your body. Inside those cells are these little bitty machineries. You saw that little thing like an axle just turning, right? Well, when it doesn't turn like it's supposed to, the cell gets sick. And then you have symptoms. Like you don't have energy because that's not turning like it's supposed to. Your body can't heal because that's not turning like it's supposed to. So what if there were technologies, supplements, things you could take that could make that axle turn more? Well, that's what peptides do. And that's what other nutrients do. They signal the cell. All of the cells in the body communicate to each other. And I get so excited about this because this is what it's all about. Like, I've spent 20 plus years of my life trying to find the cause of people's problems. Literally pulling my hair out, it's gone right now, trying to find the root of these problems. And that's why I get so excited, because when I talked to the gentleman that had epilepsy, they just got the joke. I gotta slow down. You guys are amazing. When I talked to the gentleman has the epilepsy issues, or the chronic pain, or maybe there's a woman who's infertile, or maybe who knows what's going on. It all goes down to the cells not working like they're supposed to. So check this out. So what I want you to understand is inside your cell, you have all these beautiful little mechanisms in there. And when we get our mitochondria overworked because of toxic overload, or if we don't have the nutrients that we're supposed to have, the raw materials. I don't know if you saw that video, but when that axle was turning, little nutrients were going inside that cell. And that's like gasoline going into the engine of a car. That's the root cause of any symptom you've got. Any disease that's out there comes from some dysfunction on the cellular level. So every cell in your body vibrates at a frequency. We now have the ability in science to measure those frequencies. We know that your heart is supposed to measure at a certain frequency. By the way, when I speak frequencies to doctors, I use the term like EKG. You've heard of that before? That's a frequency. HRV, heart rate variability, that's a frequency. We have the ability to measure the frequencies of the body, and we know that the body's supposed to vibrate at a certain frequency. But as we get older, that turns down. And then we feel older. But what if there was a way that we could turn that back up again? It starts with living your genetic lifestyle, but then it gets into other technologies that are out there. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our new and improved cell signals formula. Now, all the QR codes, all the products, everything that you're looking for is also on biolimitless.com. Biolimitless.com has all of this, okay? But again, on every label, you'll have the QR code. You'll have videos on there. There's a short video that explains it real quickly, because we live in a social media world where everybody has a 3-minute or less TikTok mentality of videos. But then there's a long form version that really helps explain it. But here's what this formula does. This formula helps improve the cellular vibration. It helps that axle turn quicker. Okay, and I want to show you what's in it that does that. It'll boost energy and mental clarity. It enhances recovery time. It's going to help improve cognitive health and focus. It reduces cellular fatigue. Cellular fatigue is when that cell slows down. It's supposed to turn at a certain frequency. Well, if it goes slow, we can't get the energy that our body's supposed to have. It's going to help detoxification. And when the body does those things, a great side effect is it can rest. And the human body cannot heal unless it's resting. So this is a powerful formula. Here's what's in it. So the formula at the top, this has a couple peptides that are in it as well. Now the peptides that are in this, we have a mix of plant-based peptides and collagen-based peptides. These are nutraceutical peptides. We also put something in here called BHB. Has anybody ever heard of BHB before? Anybody ever heard of ketones? Ketosis? BHB turns your body into ketosis. It helps your cells go into ketosis. What do ketones help the body do? Burn fat. have more energy. Has anybody ever fasted before? You know what fasting does? Do you know the body heals in a state of fasting? We get into this, when we fast, we get this thing called autophagy. Autophagy is the body's ability for the cells to turn over, to repair themselves. BHB is a natural chemical signal that mimics fasting autophagy. So you literally can get the benefits of fasting through adding this BHB to your system, which is powerful. I'm going to show you some studies on that in just a moment. L-carnosine, this is a very unique dipeptide that helps detoxify the cells, promotes muscle performance. This is a big one. L-carnitine helps a lot with skeletal muscles and your heart. This is a really big one to improve blood flow. One of the reasons why people, you ever get up in the morning and you're just like, man, I'm really stiff and just sore and tight, because you're not getting enough blood flow to the muscles of your body. L-carnitine can help with that. B12, very, very important, especially methylated B12. Many of you, I'm going to tell you it's about 70 to 75% of people on planet Earth have a genetic imbalance called MTHFR. You're going to find it with so many problems. It means it cannot handle a certain type of B vitamin. This is why people who have that defect have a lot of symptoms: migraines, fatigue, headaches, infertility, skin issues, autoimmune problems, so many issues. They have to have a specific type of B vitamin. This methylated B12 is the answer to that. Not only does it help improve energy, but it also pulls the sugar out of the blood cells, out of the blood, and pulls it in through the system like it's supposed to, so it can help with sugar and mitochondrial issues. Has methylated B9, a very specific type of B9 that is important for all people, but what it does is it helps the nerves in the body regenerate. You ever heard of things like neuropathy? People get numbness, tingling in their hands and fingers. Their nose gets cold all the time. Sometimes men get erectile dysfunctions. These types of supplements can help improve blood supply and circulation and nerve function. Very, very powerful for neurotransmitters. We put the amino acid L-glycine in it. This is a big one. When I explain the benefits of L-glycine, it's an amino acid that helps with collagen synthesis. Collagen is a very big buzzword right now. So many people are supplementing with collagen because it can help with wrinkles. And everybody wants their wrinkles to go away. They want to look young. Well, you can take all the collagen you want, but if you don't have the amino acids and the peptides that grab that collagen and put it back to work, that axle in that cell can't turn, and it doesn't work like it's supposed to. It's a powerful formula. We put phosphatidylserine in it. This supports cellular membranes, great for memory. This helps you have a calm focus, a calm intensity. I love having this type of formula first thing in the morning because it gives you the energy of like coffee without the caffeine. It gives you the energy without the jitters. Really helps with focus. And I'm going to tell you, I use this compound with kids all the time in my practices to help them with focus, concentration, things of that nature. And then it has L-tyrosine in it, very powerful neurotransmitter that helps with mood. So this is our updated cell signals formula, and this helps recharge the cells. Think about your body like a battery. That battery needs to be recharged. And because most of us don't sleep like we're supposed to, either the quality or quantity of sleep, this formula can help offset some of those issues. So this one is a very powerful product. Now, here's some medical research journals that shows the power of BHB. Now, there are hundreds of articles out there that talk about different things that BHB does physiologically in the body. But I thought you might enjoy this because this helps improve metabolism. Metabolism is the body's ability to burn fat and sugar as fuel. So what does that mean it does? It can help with metabolic type problems. Remember that first slide I showed you that showed the massive amount of metabolic dysfunction that we deal with as human beings? This is a great formula when you add it to the DNA lifestyle that can help offset some of those issues. BHB also has been shown to help improve heart health. Please, ladies and gentlemen, understand the #1 cause of all death on the planet is heart disease. And this is something that can help improve heart function. It also helps improve kidney function. Kidney function is a very big issue that most will have no idea they're dealing with if they get swelling in their ankles, swelling in their feet, if they get pain in their back in this area, they crave a lot of a lot of salts. They could be dealing with kidney stress. So BHB by itself is really powerful. BHB also shows to help with obesity. BHB also helps to control, this was a study done in Japan, lowered body fat. This is another study that shows that it knocks down lipid profile, cholesterol, okay? Cholesterol, the bad fats, and etc. So there's so much medical research behind these compounds, it'll just blow your mind if you get into it. You watch those videos that I put out there on that product, very, very powerful. So mitochondrial dysfunction, the cell signal formula helps stimulate mitochondria. That's a kind of a resounding theme that most of our formulas do. There's a new phenomenon that's being studied in medicine globally, and we're referring to it as mitochondrial dysfunction. Because now we have the ability to look at the machinery inside the cells and we can see that it's just not turning over like it's supposed to. So if we can get the mitochondria, which is the part of the cell that takes the fuel that we eat, the nutrients we take, and converts it into energy, we can help with chronic pain, chronic fatigue, anxiety, so much more, just by getting the mitochondria to get better. And remember, 88% of adults have some level of insulin resistance, obesity, or even fatty liver syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome is truly becoming an epidemic globally. And it's because of the sugar in our foods and a lot of the medications and a lot of the supplements that people are taking. Yes, that's right, some supplements can actually cause harm to the human body. What if there was something you could do to get the mitochondria to turn over, to get the liver to be healthy? And if the liver is working better, our blood supply gets better, our blood sugar gets better. And one of the main reasons why people get high blood pressure is because of stress on the liver. And in Eastern medicine, the liver is known as the angry one. If the liver is out of balance, people get angry. How many of you know people, if they go a couple hours without something to eat, they get hangry? You know those folks? That's because their liver is bad. So this is a phenomenal product that can help with all those types of issues. So how do we do this? What's the solution for mitochondrial dysfunction? Number one, the solution is understanding your genetic lifestyle. Getting the blueprint of how to live your life, step number one. Step number two, the 45 Easy Challenge. How many of you in here have seen the 45 Easy Challenge that we have? It is one of the simplest, easiest guides to follow that can change your life forever. And it's so easy. It's on our website, go to Biolimitless.com. If you'll implement your genetics, the 45 Easy Challenge, and this new formula I'm going to show you, this is a peptide bioregulator formula some of you heard just a little bit about. I'm going to go into great detail about it now, called cellular reset. So let's talk about this. First of all, the 45 Easy Challenge, which we're going to discuss later this afternoon, later on today, about something that I want us to do as a global community. I know that there are several groups all across the world right now that are doing 45 Easy Challenges. I know the Japanese have several hundred people every morning that get together and watch our videos, and the results they're getting are amazing. But one of the things I'm going to ask is, you are a leader, and you're in here for a reason. We're going to do a 45 Easy Challenge together as a global community, and we're going to hear about hundreds, if not thousands, of testimonials, just like some of the few that I told you today. So there's many resources here. I want to make sure you understand that we have access to that. It's a free resource to you that we built for you to have. Now, before I get into the cellular reset formula, I want to talk a little bit about peptides. So peptides are very important. Peptides are amino acids. Peptides really are amino acids that are in a very short chain. And think about amino acids like a lock and a key. If I want to open a door, I have to have the right lock or the right key that fits in that lock. It has to fit in there perfectly. And there's different kinds of peptides that are out there. There's plant-based peptides. And I told you we use some plant-based raw materials for our cell signal formula. Those are good. Those are really good. But they're not as good as animal-based peptides, at least from a human physiological standpoint. The data shows that animal-based, collagen-based peptides, the key to those are a little bit better to open up that lock. But then there's something known as research grade, and we often refer to them as pharmaceutical grade peptides. Even though they're not drugs, the term pharmaceutical grade means they're 99% potent or stronger. A plant-based peptide might be 50% of potency. An animal-based peptide is somewhere between 70 to 80, sometimes 90%. But a pharmaceutical grade or research grade peptide is 99% more pure than anything else that's out there. So the key is perfect to open up that lock. Does that make sense? So peptides accelerate recovery. They promote longevity. They're the key to anti-aging. They are one of the cell signaling technologies that re-establishes vibration and community in those cells, the communication with the cells that slow down. And they support brain health, metabolic function, and they boost mitochondria. But here's the issue. The problem that we deal with today is that the majority of peptides on the market are injectable. How many of you have heard of, GLP-1 injectors like Ozempic or Wegovy or Trizepatide? 90% of the peptides that are on the market today are injectable, and they're expensive. And I'm going to tell you, I've been prescribing peptides in my practices now for 15, 16 years. We've been dealing with peptides for even longer than that. And even some of the most diehard health individuals get burnt out on sticking a needle in their body every day. How many of y'all would agree that that's probably not the most exciting thing to do? So people fall off, they burn out from doing that. And if they don't take their peptides, they don't get the results. So peptides are painful, inconvenient, and they're just not built for real life solutions when they're injectable. By the way, there's some massive hidden cost involved. I don't know if you know this, but these are the national averages just for GLP-1 medications. These are drugs in the US and globally that have been originally prescribed for diabetes control. And now they're being used second nature or offhand or off-label for weight loss. And by the way, when you take something like a peptide, which is so good, and you turn it into a drug, which makes it not so good, it overfloods the receptor sites and causes a lot of problems. We're going to discuss those problems right here. These are the side effects that are happening with GLP-1 injectable drugs right now. These are things like Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. And look at the cost for these. Some of these drugs could be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month. That's the active prices right now for these medications in the US. That's pretty substantial. And look at the side effects that people are dealing with. Everything from nausea to vomiting to diarrhea, because what these drugs do is they stop the body's digestive system. So basically what happens is people eat food and they just feel full all the time. And then what happens is if they feel full all the time, guess what they don't get? They don't get the nutrition that their body needs. Yeah, you're going to lose weight, but there's a term that doctors like myself are using now, and people turn into what we call skinny fat. What does that mean? They lose a bunch of weight, but they lose all their muscles. There's a recent study that just came out, and that shows that once you're over the age of 40, it's not impossible, but it's pretty close to impossible to get your muscle mass back after you've done some of these medications to lose that muscle. And you may not think that's a big deal, but the number one measurement tool, hear me on this, the number one tool to measure, the number one metric, the biomarker that tells how healthy you're going to be in longevity is the amount of muscle mass that you have in your system. Your muscle is the biggest organ in the body that balances your blood sugars. Your muscles, in fact, your grip strength, that's the number one thing. Did you know that better than any test that's out there? The number one test of longevity of how you're going to live a happy, healthy, long life is how strong your grip is. So you better start working on your grip strength. But the last thing you want to do is lose all your muscles. By the way, look at this. In the last couple of years, there's been 160 deaths in the US, there's been 82 in the UK. There's a $3 billion class action lawsuit right now in the US because of Ozempic. And there's a big shift happening. Just like, and I say this with complete love and appreciation, medicine has a track record, and I showed you a slide of that. I showed you the slide that showed in the last 10 years over $20 billion of payouts because of fines and penalties the pharmaceutical companies had to pay out because they lied to you, they lied to me as a doctor about the safety and efficacy of these drugs. And that's not okay. And so the solution is this. We have a formula, man, I'm super excited about this one, called, now I'm gonna read the whole title of this. It's called Cellular Mitochondrial Metabolic Reset. Because I like to name products for what they do, okay? This helps from a cellular standpoint, improve mitochondria, and helps your metabolism. So what does that mean as a side effect of it? It means you're gonna lose weight, but not the way that you lose weight with GLP-1s. Let me explain this. This is a very, I'm like, this is so, I know I kind of get a little nerdy every once in a while, but this is one that I want to kind of nerd out about a little bit. So this formula has a couple really unique components to it. Number one, it helps with all these great things. And here's your QR code down here, you can check all this out. But look what's in it. The first peptide, and these are research-grade pharmaceutical quality, not a drug, pharmaceutical quality peptide, 99+% pure. The most perfect key that fits in that lock, that turns it, opens it up. Way more precise than plant-based peptides, way more precise than animal-based peptides, and there's no impurities in it. In animal peptides and in some plant peptides, there can be impurities in those. We'll get into that later. But 5-amino-1 burns fat by doing certain things. One is called lipolysis. Lipolysis means just burning of fat from the viscera, so like organs, and around the midsection and the face, the jawline. And it does it without causing stress in the GI tract. So it's not like Wegovy, it's not like Ozempic, it's not even a drug. It helps support fat breakdown and muscle preservation. Let me say that again, muscle preservation. So what was the problem I showed you on the slide before? Yeah, people lose weight, but guess what? They lose muscle mass. So are they healthier? The answer is no. We're running into it. You're gonna see this. We're going to see people who have taken these GLP-1 agonists for a prolonged period of time, and they will have proven to shorten their lifespan because of that. I'm telling you, we're already seeing the data that supports that. But because of how humans are, people hear, oh, I can take a shot and I can lose weight, that must be good for me. Well, there's no such thing as a quick fix. You don't get healthy quick, you don't get rich quick, you don't do any of these things quick, it takes a process. So, support fat breakdown, preserves muscles, helps, reduces systemic inflammation. This is a big one because if your cells are inflamed, they don't work like they're supposed to. So it can knock down inflammation. What's inflammation cause? Pain. What's inflammation cause? Anything that ends in itis is an inflammatory issue. You can fill in the blank with all the itises that are out there. And it enhances mitochondrial energy production. So number one, we put 5-amino-1 peptide in it. So cool. Number two, BPC-157. Literally my favorite peptide. I've been using this peptide in my practices for, again, 15 plus years. This is known as the regeneration peptide, or the Wolverine peptide is the nickname of it. Because what does it do? It reduces inflammation. It helps collagen production. Collagen production is what's necessary. Collagen production is what's necessary for muscles, ligaments, and tendons to heal. You know the arthritis you have in your knee and your back and your shoulders and your joints? A lot of times it's inflammation and the collagen's not working like it's supposed to. This one also, BPC-157, also helps improve blood supply to the organs, the joints, and the muscles. And that's a big deal. You're gonna find out later when we talk, actually on the next couple slides, that low blood supply is one of the biggest issues people have for brain dysfunction, gut dysfunction, and chronic inflammation, and poor healing. This reduces oxidative stress and improves energy. BPC 157 by itself, amazing. 5-amino-1 by itself, amazing. But then we add something called SLU, SLU-PP332. This is a really unique compound. Again, this is a pharmaceutical grade peptide, not a drug, but it's actually 99.7% pure. What's really cool about what we do at Biolimitless is all about truth, trust, and transparency. So with all of our products that we make, we run a quality assurance test on it. We have a third-party company that tests the potency and the cleanliness of our products. And we put on our website, on the QR code, the C of A, which shows you the percentage of potency of these peptides. That's amazing, because that's one of the big things. There's so many peptides on the market, but nobody shows you how safe they are. Nobody shows you how potent they are. My question is, what do you got to hide? Because we don't have anything to hide. There's a lot of things out there on the market that aren't good for you that they say that they are. By the way, SLOOP is known as exercise in a bottle. Let me say that again. SLOOP is known as exercise in a bottle. For 20 plus years in practice, I've had my patients say, Doc, haven't you created a pill yet that I can just take and I don't gotta work out anymore? Well, I didn't create this, but somebody else came up with this compound, and boy, does it work amazing. Now, am I telling you you don't have to work out? No, I'm not saying that. But what SLOOP does is it stimulates the mitochondria in the muscles. So guess what? Your body with this formula, you gotta follow your genetics, you gotta eat the right foods, you gotta do the right exercise. But if you'll use this formula, we can burn fat, we can improve energy, we can reduce inflammation, and we can keep our skeletal muscles strong. I mean, how amazing is that? By the way, SLOOP has been proven to help improve VO2 max and skeletal muscle strength. What did I tell you before was one of the most important indicators for longevity? Grip strength. Guess what number 2 is? VO2 max. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an oral peptide formula right here, our cellular reset formula that you can take orally. And by the way, when you do an oral form of the research quality, the pharmaceutical quality peptides that are 99% pure, the way that we manufacture those, they get through the stomach, they get in the small intestine, and they have 90% absorbability in the bloodstream. And they're about the size of a Tic Tac. How many of y'all get tired of swallowing big pills? These things are like Tic Tac sizes. So you can take 2 of these a day. They're so tiny. I mean, they look like little triangles. You're gonna love these things. In fact, when you look at this bottle is a tiny little guy. So you get to have this little bottle. I mean, I'm just telling you, when you see it, you're gonna smile because it's so easy to take, and the results you're gonna get are gonna blow your mind. So I think this, folks, if we did nothing besides this formula, this is a multi-billion-dollar company just right here, just in this product alone. Because if you implement the DNA lifestyle, the 45 easy challenge, and the cellular reset, I truly believe as a practicing physician, we can really, truly help eradicate a lot of the metabolic dysfunction globally that's happening in the world. So how does that sound? Now, check this out. I just want to give you some real numbers here. So 5-amino-1, if you're going to inject 5-amino-1 by itself on a monthly basis, it's going to be about $200 a month. If you're going to inject BPC 157, about $150 to $250 a month. If you're going to inject SLOOP, it's about $200 to $250. So your total monthly injection could be anywhere between $550 to $750 per month. And if you add the weight loss to that, that could be up to $1,100 to $2,000 a month. A month. That's what the medical world is giving you right now. By the way, ours is literally a fraction of that cost. So we've got a better delivery system, a convenient ability to take it orally, and it literally is a fraction of what normally the cost would be. And by the way, I put this up here because what I found is when people understand how to live their genetic lifestyle and use the 45 Easy Challenge, they actually spend less money on groceries. So I'm gonna help you actually save money while you get healthy, lose weight, and get your muscles back as well. So this is a massive, massive, powerful slide. Now, here's some of the research. The research on 5-amino-1. This is the medical journals on 5-amino-1. So 5-amino-1 helps with weight loss, helps balance out the gut microbiome. Remember I told you that in the gut there are certain bacteria. If you don't have these bacteria, your body cannot metabolize like it's supposed to. I don't know if you know this, but there's been studies that have proven if we take fecal matter out of an obese mouse and we put it into a skinny, healthy mouse, guess what happens to that skinny, healthy mouse? It gets obese. If I take fecal matter out of a skinny, healthy mouse and I put it into a fat mouse or a rat, guess what happens to that rat? It gets thin. Now, I'm not doing either one of those to anybody in this room, but 5-amino-1 balances out the microbiome bacteria in addition to what we do with the master microbiotics that can help the body truly burn weight and keep it off. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you in this room know people that have dieted before? They've yo-yoed. They've lost like 20 pounds, they gained 20 pounds. They lost 30, they gained 30. Their body never stays at that new weight. Why? Because the microbiome and the metabolism never truly resets. This formula can help with that. Look at this. This also shows that 5-amino-1 helps with metabolic disorders. These are medical journals that show this, you guys. Also shows that 5-amino-1 helps with obesity. Shows here that 5-amino-1 helps with skeletal muscle, keeps skeletal muscle strong in the body. So it helps. This is the solution. I practice common sense healthcare. And so when I saw the problems that were happening with these GLP-1 drugs and these injections, I took a step back and said, there's gotta be a smarter way to do this. And this is it. So we've stacked these 3 peptides into these tiny little tic-tac size peptides that you literally can take twice a day, and it can help improve all those issues with those side effects. I think this is pretty powerful. There's an anti-aging component to 5-amino-1. I think this is also really powerful. That 5-amino-1 has been studied as an anti-cancer type of medication, as a natural form to help the body deal with blood sugar, because I don't know if you know this, when your blood sugars are elevated, it causes a reduction of your immune system function, and it can cause an increase in cancers and other systemic diseases. 5-amino-1 has been studied for that. So that's pretty cool. So here's some of the studies on BPC 157. BPC 157 promotes tendon healing, tendon growth. I have patients in my practices that we give them BPC 157, and their knee pain goes away, their back pain goes away, their elbow pain goes away, their joint pain goes away. Why? Because now the tendons and soft tissues actually have the blood supply to actually heal themselves. I thought this was pretty powerful. This helps with fibroblasts. I don't know if you ever heard of fibroblasts before, but we get fibrous scar tissues in the body, in organs and in muscles. BPC 157 has been shown to help with that. BPC 157 also helps with GI problems, gastric issues. BPC 157, the peptide, is a normal peptide that's normally found in the gastric acids of human beings in the GI tract. It's a normal, natural peptide. By the way, you find BPC 157 in organ meat. And if you guys eat organs or not, but it's pretty common. And if you take any supplements like beef liver extract or digestive extract, BPC 157 is a small dose is in there as well. I thought this is pretty impressive. It helps with endothelial nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas in the body. And nitric oxide, if it's too high, is a problem. Nitric oxide, if it's too low, is a big problem as well. BPC 157 helps balance that out. That helps balance blood supply. That's a very, very, very big deal. It also helps with smooth muscle and heart muscle. Not only does it help with skeletal, but heart muscle it can improve with. And again, gastric health with Chiari syndrome. There's more BBC 157 for the brain. It's been studied in spinal cord injuries. BBC's been studied in behavioral disorders. It's been studied in brain lesions. And it's been studied in sensory recovery and spinal cord injuries. That's pretty impressive, because most of the chronic problems people have are neurologically related. You know, you don't have a lot of blood supply to the nerves in your body, and you don't have a lot of blood supply to the disc spaces, the spaces between the vertebrae and your spine. And BPC 157 can help improve that. Let's talk about SLOOP. SLOOP is really getting a lot of notoriety from anti-aging doctors now because of what it does. It mimics exercise. Now, they call it a drug. It's not a drug. I mean, they call B12 a drug. They call all supplements a drug in the medical world. But exercise mimicking, shredding fat, boosting muscles. By the way, this is called an ERR agonist. So it helps the body deal with estrogen in the body. Estrogen is a naturally produced hormone, but what happens is, because of the chemical toxins that we're under, especially, I don't know if you know this, but there's a tremendous amount of plastic in our water and our food supply. Did you know that? Did you know the latest research says that the average person has about a credit card size worth of plastic floating around in their bloodstream and their organs? And what happens is, first of all, that's not good. Our body's not built for that. And it causes a rise of estrogen. When estrogen goes up, testosterone goes down. Men and women both need testosterone. It's one of the vitality hormones of the body to help with healing, help with energy. It's not just about libido and sex drive, it's about overall healing in the body. And when we get estrogen dominant, guess what happens? We gain weight. We get women, you know, their hair gets thin, and they get hair in areas of their body they don't want hair. And they get all kinds of hormonal imbalances, and they can get things like endometriosis and other estrogen-dominant disorders, and then ultimately that can lead to insulin resistance. So this is pretty powerful if you understand how estrogen affects the system. Here's a couple more studies. New Hope is what it says. SLOOP, a positive effect agent on kidney health. Man, I cannot tell you how many folks on a regular basis, when we run a blood or a urine test, we find kidney dysfunction with them. You know, you guys know one of my degrees is in chiropractic, and so we see a lot of people that have back pain in our clinics. And the vast majority of people that have chronic back pain, most of them would find stress on their kidneys. And it's very difficult to regenerate kidneys once they start going south. SLOOP has some really positive studies that shows that it can help with that. And then just overall metabolic health. I mean, this is what they're calling it. This is the Research Journal of Science and Technology, unlocking the potential, SLOOP, and the future of exercise enhancement and metabolic health. This can help you recover quicker from your exercises. And guess what? Some of you that are going, I don't want to exercise. Well, guess what? Once your muscles start activating again, and once you aren't in pain, guess what you want to do? You want to exercise again, because our bodies are genetically made to move. So this is a really powerful formula. SLOOP by itself is going to be a really, really big game changer for all of us. So what do you think about that formula? Yeah. It's pretty powerful. Make sure you guys go to the website, biolimitless.com, and then we'll put the QR codes back up as well, but you can watch all the videos on it. I've got some deep dives on that formula and all the white papers, and then also all of the supplemental fact sheets. Very powerful information. Okay, let's talk about brain health now. So, how many of you would agree with me that stress is one of the major killers of men and women on the planet? I mean, stress kills people. You know, have you ever heard of people having broken heart syndrome? You ever having people say that, man, I'm so stressed out, I'm just done. And then I told you that in 2021, the American Medical Association in the US says that we just stepped into the beginning of a 14-year cycle of mental illness on a level that we've never seen in recorded history ever before. So we're seeing mental illness on the rise. And you've heard me talk before that in the gut, in the digestive tract, is where the majority of the neurotransmitters are chemicals that move through our body that go to our brain and allows our brain to wire and fire properly. I'm going to use that term a lot, wiring and firing in the brain. In your brain, you have something called synapses. Ever heard of that term before, a synapse? Yeah, a synapse is where two nerves come together, and that chemical jumps from one to the other. That's a synapse. And because of stress, because of chemical, physical, and emotional stresses of life, we lose those synapses. And loss of synapses, you're going to see in a moment, can cause a lot of symptoms. But the other thing that happens is when we get under chronic stress, physically, chemically, or emotionally, not living our genetic lifestyle, is we lose our blood supply. So what happens is our body's got this really amazing inborn innate ability to heal itself as long as we do the right things. And one of those right things allows for new blood supply to flow. New blood supply is a really powerful deal. And most people, because they're chronically consuming too much caffeine, are shutting off the blood supply to their brain. See, many of you think, I drink my coffee, or I drink coffee or caffeine all day, and it keeps my brain going. It actually shuts it down. And study after study after study has proven it. Now, don't yell at me tomorrow morning when you see me having a coffee, okay? Because 1 or 2 cups a day is fine. It's just all the caffeine that most people do, especially with the energy drinks. So check this out. There's a massive decline in mental illness and cognitive health globally. And a lot of it is happening. We've got anxiety, depression, ADD. Listen to this, ADD, ADHD, and depression has risen 400%. 400% over the last 14 years. Now, we've spent more money than we've ever spent on healthcare. Shouldn't that go down if we're doing the right thing? It's going up. And I don't know about you, but I would agree with Einstein that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. 400% increase. By the way, one of the issues we have is this BDNF thing. We're going to talk about this BDNF in just a minute. But BDNF is the brain's fuel to regenerate itself. Okay? We're seeing a decline in that. We're seeing brain fog, memory loss, poor focus, early signs of Alzheimer's and neurodegeneration massively happening. I don't know if you saw this, but in 2016 there was a global report that said people are worried about if, but not when, they're going to develop neurological dysfunction. Things like Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And we got a massive increase in crazy screen time and technology. And I was just telling the guys in the back earlier, I said, you know, this thing right here is a blessing, but it's also a curse. Did you know that there's recent studies that show that if you're on your phone after 10 p.m. at night, and you've got your blue screen on, and the light's bright, it causes your brain to demyelinate. It causes increase in anxiety. It causes your blood flow to go down. It causes your eyes to strain. And so, you know, these things right here are amazing, but they also, well, they're causing us problems. What if there were things you could do to offset that? Because technology, we're going to always be improving technology. There's going to be new great things that are coming out. So how do we offset the side effects that happen with that? When we see this brain gut issue, 80% of serotonin, the neurotransmitter for happiness. How many of y'all want to be happy? Anybody want to be happy? We all do. There's a chemical for happiness. It's called serotonin. 80% of it's made in the gut. I'm going to show you a study in a minute that talks about one of the peptides that's in this formula and how it improves the brain-gut function. So we have lots of, we've lost connections and we've lost circulation in our brain. And I need you to understand that this is the root cause. Losing the synapses and losing the blood supply is a problem. Your brain thrives on strong synapses and a steady blood flow. Blood flow brings nutrients into the brain, and it takes the toxins out of the brain. How many have you ever heard of someone say a phrase or a term, that guy's kind of dull? Or that girl, she's really bright. You ever heard of those terms before? Those terms actually originated in the 1980s when we started scanning the brains of people. And when we look at a PET scan of the brain, if a brain lights up with all these beautiful bright colors, that's a bright brain. It's got good synapses, good blood supply. But if somebody's brain is dark, red, or black, That's a dull brain. It's got low blood supply. It's got low synapses. This leads to disease, this leads to health. Does that make sense? And these are the symptoms that people have. So loss of blood is called ischemia. There's many causes of it. Stress is a big one. If we have really bad ischemia, it can cause a stroke and heart attacks and etc. And if we lose our synapses, we get cognitive decline, which is a leading indicator of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis. Brain fog, chronic stress, and slow recovery time. Has anybody here ever heard of a concussion before? Do you know what a concussion is? You see, most people think that concussions are this big traumatic car accident or a football player, and they get knocked out. Do you know that by the time the average person is 9 years old, they've had almost 24 concussions in their life? They might be just little bitty ones, but they build up over time. Every time you fall and whip your neck, that's a concussion. Every time you play a sport and hit your head, that's a concussion. And in the mid-2000s, I was on one of the teams for the NFL that put together the concussion protocol. And we're finding that these concussions are really leading to serious problems, and it's not the big injury that really does it, it's the little bitty hits or the little bitty stresses over a long period of time that cause chronic damage. And unless we do things to improve the synapses and improve the blood flow, people never improve. So check this out. So the brain growth and repair is built off of several things. I just want you to understand that the BDNF in the brain is the growth factor for the brain. If the BDNF goes down, we can't learn. We don't remember things like we're supposed to. How many of you have ever ran around your house looking for your phone or your glasses, and your phone's in your hand and your glasses are on your face? That's a BDNF problem. That's a problem. It's not like just some little thing that happens. That is an issue, okay? And because of the chronic stress, we can get things like dopamine imbalances. If we get low dopamine, you know what we get an increased risk for? Addiction. On your DNA test, there's genes that we measure that tells if you have an increased risk for addiction. And if you have dopamine issues, your brain's gonna try to do something to get that dopamine to come up, but it's usually not healthy things for the body. And these are people that get addicted to sex, drugs, rock and roll, and all kinds of stuff that can do good and bad to you, you know? And it causes serious long-term problems. So I'm gonna talk a lot about wiring, firing, refocusing, and rebooting. Because this formula that we're gonna talk about, this is our neuro reboot formula, our neuro reboot. Because when your body's stressed out, think about it like this. Your body's made up of fuses. And if we get too much energy, too much stress, what happens to the fuse at home? It blows. We have to reboot that system. Well, I want to show you a video. And this video talks about synapses, because I need you to understand what the root cause of the problem is. Yes, you have brain fog. Yes, you have headaches. Yes, you have fatigue. Yes, you have anxiety. Those are symptoms a lot of times caused by these synapses not working. So check out this quick video on synapses.
So, let's start by talking about what synaptogenesis actually is. Synapses are the sites where neurons communicate with each other, allowing for the transmission of information in the brain. When two neurons come into close proximity, they can form a synapse by sending out specialized structures called dendrites and axons. These structures interact with each other, allowing for the release of neurotransmitters, which are chemicals that carry signals between neurons. During synaptogenesis, neurons form new synapses and strengthen existing ones, creating a complex network of connections that allow for efficient communication in the brain. This process is crucial for brain development, as it allows for the creation of circuits that are essential for learning and memory. So, how does synaptogenesis work? It's a complex process that involves a number of different mechanisms. One of the key players in synaptogenesis is a protein called synaptotagmin, which helps to regulate the release of neurotransmitters at the synapse. Another important mechanism is the growth of dendritic spines, which are small protrusions on the surface of dendrites that allow for the formation of new synapses. This process is driven by a number of different factors, including the activation of signaling pathways that promote dendritic growth and the release of neurotransmitters that stimulate the formation of new synapses.
So, this is a synapse. those neurotransmitters that are made in your gut by bacteria, like the master microbiotic formula, helps the body make those compounds that go up these nerves and they synapse. They synapse all over the place, but they synapse in the brain. And this little junction right here, when these synapses don't fire, that's what leads to serious dysfunction in our brain and our body. And if the brain doesn't work, the body doesn't work. Now, I want to show you one more video before we talk about the Neuro Reboot formula, what's in it, how's it work, and all the studies behind it. I want you to pay close attention to this next video, because you're going to see two things happen. You're going to see synaptogenesis, which is the formation of new firing synapses in the brain through this thing called dendrites. Okay, you'll see this in a moment. But then you're going to see this little red like tube come through, little red line come through, and that's angiogenesis. That's the body putting new blood supply down in the brain. So what we want to do is we want to repair the synapses to rewire and refire the brain, and we want to improve blood supply to get the nutrients to the brain like it's supposed to. Because physical, chemical, and emotional stresses causes abnormal synapses and low blood flow. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, so check this next one out. Watch this.
Dendrites play an important role in communication by receiving and transmitting signals from other brain cells.
That's a new
Dendrites
neurofiber.
grow as cells adapt and respond to new information.
That's what we want.
Patterns vary between cells, but most dendrites grow 4 to 5 branches at a time. A growth cone at the tip of the dendrite expands when calcium is released and is trimmed back as the cell matures. Once spines have grown on the newly formed dendrite, axons from neighboring cells branch and synapse with the spines.
There's new blood flow going. That's what we want. We want
Growth
that to
of
happen.
dendrites occurs across the lifespan, but tends to decrease with age.
So when we don't have those things happening, we get all kinds of symptoms. All kinds of symptoms. Emotional stress. Has anybody in here ever been like so stressed out they just kind of forgot what they were doing? Does that ever happen? Of course. And chronic stress leads to something called increased cortisol, which literally can turn your brain into Swiss cheese. Literally pokes holes in the brain. And unless you have the ability to rewire and refire that brain, the brain degenerates. Science, when I first went to school, many of you doctors in here would agree with me, they told us that neural cells wouldn't regenerate. They told us that we cannot get new blood supply back to the brain. We now know that's not true. New technology has shown that, and peptides and other chemical compounds have been shown to improve those things. So let's talk a little bit about the Neuro Reboot formula. Again, if we did nothing besides this product, and we help people improve their brain function and their gut function, that's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity right there. And again, just like I said earlier before, Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always have what you want. And man, again, these peptide pills, they're tiny little itty-bitty guys. Little things come in, or big things come in little packages. So, here's your QR code for this one. Go watch the videos. But this one is all about, it's a tripeptide, so 3 peptides are in this formula. These are pharmaceutical research grade peptides, the 99% pure peptides. It's a bioregulator designed to help rewire brain function, refire metabolic processes, and reboot cellular regeneration. It helps with cellular repair and restoration, metabolism. You're going to find out that once you get the brain to work like it's supposed to, guess what happens? Metabolism changes. Did you know that we have something in our body called neurological metabolism? You have a neurological set point for metabolism. Anybody ever heard of the phrase soul food? You eat a certain type of food when you're stressed out. It's because the brain is what drives a lot of cravings in our body. It optimizes brain function, helps with brain-gut microbiome, and helps with cellular vitality and longevity. So let's talk a little bit about what's in this. So the Neuro Reboot has 3 peptides. We already talked about BPC 157. By the way, some of you are going to ask me, well, if I take the cell reset and the Neuro Reboot and they both have BPC 157, is that too much? No. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get too much BBC 157 in your system. It is so safe, so important, and so effective. And by the way, whatever your body doesn't use, guess what it's going to do? Just get rid of it. Trust me, in these formulas, there's nowhere near excess amounts of it. You need all these. So let's talk about what these do. So BBC 157 is a powerful peptide that aids in regeneration and blood supply to the body, reduces inflammation, supports and enhances tissue repair, protects neuroinflammation, that's brain inflammation. It helps protect the brain gut. It also helps stimulate angiogenesis. Now, somebody's going to come up and say, whoa, angiogenesis? My doctor told me that that's bad because cancer needs angiogenesis. No. That's carcinogenic angiogenesis. We're talking about therapeutic angiogenesis. There's only a few compounds in the marketplace today that have been able to show to do that. We got to get blood supply back to an area, and this is one of the formulas that shows to do that. So, what are the peptides that are in this? Tesofensin is a peptide, and it's called the metabolic modulator. Tesofensin helps deal with serotonin, noradrenaline, and dopamine. That's a big deal. Because not only is that going to help with happiness, mood, brain balance, and etc., there's also a metabolic component to that. It supports fat oxidation. Why is that important? You have a whole system in your body called the lipid system that most people will never even talk about. And our body stores toxins in it. Did you know that a lot of times, by the way, the body's smart, the brain and liver talk to each other all day long, nonstop. And if the liver isn't working like it's supposed to, the body won't burn fat because it stores a lot of toxins in there. And it doesn't want to mobilize a lot of those toxins. So having something to help with fat oxidation, that's big because it fires up metabolism again like it's supposed to. And it also helps from a neurological standpoint as a natural appetite suppressor, but primarily for sugars and carbohydrates. When most people are stressed out, you know what they crave? Sweets. Sugars. They gotta have something sweet before, they don't feel satisfied unless they have a little something sweet at the end of their meal. That's a brain thing. That's not just your personality, that's a brain thing. Tesofensin helps with that. It supports cognitive function, helps with mood. It supports healthy levels of dopamine. Dopamine is that if you have dopamine, your brain is balanced. It's not looking for something to stimulate it. It's not, boy, this helps with a lot of focus and concentration issues that we see with people globally. Serotonin, I already talked to you about that. That's the happiness neurotransmitter. And then norepinephrine is a big one, neurotransmitter as well for energy and metabolism. It helps improve focus and motivation. If dopamine levels are low, guess what most people don't have? Their motivation's gone. What if we could help improve people's motivation, and we could help improve their happiness, and we could help improve their overall energy? And hey, if we could get them to lose a little bit of weight at the same time. Wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, there's so much application for this formula. And then we add dihexa. Dihexa is one of my favorite peptides. Dihexa is the brain restorer. Why do they call it that? This peptide helps rewire neural pathways. This has been shown to help with synaptogenesis. This peptide has been studied in multiple applications to improve wiring in the brain. I'm going to show you some studies in a moment about that. It also boosts the BDNF receptors. That's a really big one because that's neuroprotective. That protects our brain from the stresses of aging, which then protects our body from it. It's very easy to cross the blood-brain barrier, and it supports cognition by reducing neuroinflammation. Very, very, very powerful formula, the neural reboot. And I just want to show you this, just so you can see again the numbers. Standard numbers that are out there, medication numbers, people buying, peptides online for injections. This formula by itself can be anywhere between $550 to $690 a month. We're a fraction of that. And you don't have to inject yourself. And we put the combination together the way it's supposed to be. So no more injections. It's a simple oral, easy to take product, less expensive, more convenient. You don't have to have a doctor's appointment. You don't have to have a drug prescription, better pricing. I mean, this is just such a win-win-win. Nobody's done this before. With the reset formula and the neuro reboot, man, this is a whole different level of nutraceuticals that people have never seen before. I couldn't be more excited about this. Check this out. Here, I showed you some of these studies already on BBC 157. You already see what it does for tendon health, muscle health, reducing inflammation. I showed you some of these as well already on BBC 157. Spinal cord, brain, behavioral issues, neuroregeneration. Let's talk about tesofensin. Tesofensin not only can help with rewiring and refiring in the brain, but guess what it's been studied? Look at it. There was a pharmaceutical company that tried to take this peptide and turn it into a drug, and they couldn't do it. Why? Because it's a naturally occurring compound. So this has been studied in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's work. It's been studied with the dopamine receptors. By the way, when dopamine levels are balanced, weight loss is typically a really nice side effect. Because what do people do whenever they don't have anything to do and their brain's not working good? They eat. How many of you have ever you've eaten something, you're like, I'm not even hungry? That's the dopamine response. How many people have that going on? Oh man, I wish, I know you're gonna experience it, but if you knew what I knew about this formula, you'd be as freaked out and excited as I am, because I know this is really gonna change the world. And it's gonna be changed by us. Not by big medicine, by big pharma, not by, high-priced influencers, by us, by moms and dads and everybody around the world that can do all this together. Look at this. Tesofensin also helps with GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter. Guess what happens if your GABA levels are low? You get pain and you can't sleep. How many of you know people that have trouble sleeping? Man, if you can't sleep, you can't heal. What if there was a formula that could help with that? It's GABAergic. At least that's what the medical journals say. And it also helps with obesity. Look at that, anti-obesity medication. Look at this, it helps with the hypothalamus in the brain, rewiring and refiring, improving blood supply. Dihexa. Dihexa was also studied in Parkinson's. Helps restore wiring and firing in the brain. Synaptogenesis. This is a big one, angiotensin 4, whenever we see that's improvement of cognitive function. And these are medical journals that are showing, the Journal of Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics. Liver health. This is a big one here too. It talks about how it improves hepatocytes in the body. Liver improvement. The liver gets better, everything gets better. By the way, I don't know if you know this. If you know anybody who's ever had cancer, or had a risk of it, or genetic predisposition, their doctors should be looking at the health of their liver. Because if the liver goes bad, then that's how cancer spreads through the body more often, and more disease comes from that. And then this also talks about memory improvement. It improves the pathways. Dihexa improves pathways for memory function. Some of the workshops that I've recorded that are on Biolimitless.com's website, some of our pep talks, I've done pep talks on these peptides. Get it? Pep talk, peptides, right? And we talked about how pathways in the body can open through peptides. This is not like any nutrition that you've ever seen before. So, how cool is that? What are your thoughts on those two things? Right? It really truly is, we really truly have limitless possibilities and potential of what we can do with those products. And I just want to say that when you have reduction of brain wiring and firing neurons, reduction of blood flow, do you know what symptoms people get? Anxiety, depression, fatigue, brain fog, cognitive defects, which can lead over time to diseases. I mean, how many of you have a family history of, neurocognitive decline? your mom, your grandma, your aunts, your uncles, your dad, somebody's got a cognitive issue. What if there were things you could do in addition to your lifestyle to help with that? So I'm so excited about what we can do with those products, and they're designed to be able to be taken together. So you can do the cellular reset and the neuro reboot together. Both of those pair amazingly with our master microbiotic formula, and it's just really amazing what we can do with those. So I'm gonna cover one more formula, and then we can take a little break. You guys doing okay so far? Everybody doing good? Okay, good. Let's cover one more formula, and then we'll take a little break and come back and cover the rest. So we live in a very toxic world, and one of the conversations that I've been in for quite a while is about the toxins that are in our food supply, our water, our air, the stuff we clean our food or clean our body with, our clothes with. We live in a very toxic world. And when I say toxic, I always say TOXSICK, because those toxins cause us to be sick. And if our cells are congested, they're clogged up, and they're filled with plastics and heavy metals and all kinds of issues, then our body doesn't work like it's supposed to. So let's go down the pathway of toxicities. These are headlines that are in the news right now all over North America. PFAS, forever chemicals. Have you heard of these before? These are chemicals that they don't degrade. They don't go away on their own. And PFAS is linked to cancer and birth defects. We're seeing an increase in birth defects in children now because of a lot of these chemicals that are in our food and our water supply. We're seeing PFAS as a growing concern in the food and in the water. Neurotoxins and pesticides. Do you know what a pesticide is? The things they spray on your crops to kill the bugs and bacteria and things of that nature. But what we found is these pesticides disrupt the gut bacteria. So what we're spraying on our food to make us healthier, we're finding out really isn't making us healthier. There's something called glyphosate or glyphosate, however you want to say it, it's glyphosate. It's on Roundup Ready. Have you heard of this before, Roundup? Well, I remember because Roundup, Monsanto, which got bought out by Bayer because Monsanto was going down whenever there was a massive lawsuit, a $3 billion lawsuit that Bobby Kennedy Jr. actually won several years ago against Monsanto. Monsanto's in my backyard. They're in St. Louis. And I remember 15, 16 years ago going on the news and saying, oh yeah, look at all these studies that shows that glyphosate destroys the gut bacteria, kills the immune system, and can lead to symptoms like ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, neurodegenerative issues, and even autoimmune problems. And boy, did they come after us for saying that. Well, $3 billion class action lawsuit better, we proved we were right, and now they're trying to figure out how to get these chemicals out of our food supply and out of our body. Fluoride, I told you about fluoride. The EPA says there's no healthy level of fluoride in the body. Heavy metals that are in our food are linked to childhood obesity. I told you that there's a class action lawsuit against two major manufacturers of baby formulas in the United States right now because there's heavy metals that are in there. And you know what the response? The response of the manufacturers of the baby formula, literally how they responded to the complaint was, well, the government said it was okay for us to let heavy metals be in there. So they let it be in there. This is what they're feeding your children with. Remember that slide I showed you with how sick our kids are? This is part of the problem. All these chemicals are in our body and our cells, and they need to come out, and they're not as easy to get out of the system as people would think they would be. And then studies have shown that heavy metals are linked to neurodevelopment issues and decline of IQ in children. We have a lot of issues in education, but we also have a lot of issues with decline of our the neurodevelopment of our kids because of the foods we eat. So we're living in a toxic world. In our foods, we have glyphosate, fluoride, heavy metals, toxins in the air, heavy metals, microplastics everywhere. They accumulate in our body, they accumulate in your brain. We have hormone disruptors. In our plastic bottles of water, we get these BPAs. And these BPAs get inside of our cells. And remember I showed you that video of that cell, that axle turning, right? Well, with plastics get in there, heavy metals get in there, it just can't turn like it's supposed to. It causes inflammation, which then leads to dysfunction. We've got, I don't know if you know this, but you know hand sanitizer? Sorry if I'm bursting your bubble today, but hand sanitizer is an endocrine disruptor. And I remember when my daughter was in kindergarten, I went to go meet her for lunch one day, and I saw all these little kindergartners coming in from recess. And I remember when I was a kid, when we came in from recess, we had a drink of water. We were usually probably pretty dirty, and then we just went to eat, because we were kids. You get a little dirty in your body, it's good for you. Well, they're spraying every kid with this hand sanitizer. And I said, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And that's like a school policy with most of these schools in America. Kids have to use hand sanitizer before they eat. Well, they go get this hand sanitizer, which disrupts the liver, the reproductive organs, and your hormones, and then they just eat their food. It gets in their body. I actually testified in front of the Missouri Congress, the House and the Senate, about that, and we got it overturned. In most schools, you don't have to do that anymore, but it's little things like that you don't even think of that can be causing some of these hormone problems that starts as a child but doesn't really show up until you're 30 or 40. We overload our detox pathways. Most people have stressed out liver, stressed out kidneys, all kinds of issues. They're overwhelmed, and it's leading to fatigue, inflammation, and all kinds of problems. So look at these symptoms. Tell me if you know anybody that has any symptoms like this. These are all signs of toxicity. Neurological and cognitive issues, brain fog, memory loss, mood swings, anxiety, depression, vertigo, dizziness, insomnia, tremors and muscle twitches, immune problems, chronic infections, frequent colds and flus, autoimmune flare-ups, chronic inflammation, swollen lymph nodes. This is a big one. Most people don't know. When you get home later today, and you take a shower, look at your armpit. You're supposed to have a pit, not a poof. Did you know that? You're supposed to have a pit, not a poof. So if you've got an arm poof, not an armpit, you have chronic lymphatic issues. And that's a very big issue that can be caused by toxins. That could lead to issues like digestive problems, bloating, gas, distension, diarrhea, constipation, all the things. Skin issues, acne, psoriasis, eczema. Toxins can cause all kinds of problems with the thyroid, weight gain, and low libido, polycystic ovarian syndrome, estrogen dominance. The list goes on and on. Respiratory issues, a chronic cough. So many people have a chronic cough since COVID, and it's because of the toxins in their system. We get them on a detox protocol, and with literally weeks, that cough goes away, sometimes days with people. Shortness of breath, sinus issues, all those things are signs of being toxic. You know anybody's got any of those? It's like everybody, right? Everybody's got this stuff. So these are more symptoms of toxicity. Metabolic dysfunction, muscle issues, behavioral problems, heart issues, high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction. Literally, you being toxic is a massive cause of symptom, sickness, and disease in the world today. And if we can get the toxins out of the body, simple, easy, and conveniently, you're never going to get them all out 100%. It's just not possible. You're never going to avoid all of them in your lifestyle. It's just impossible. So we should do the best we can to mitigate those and to pull as many of them out of the body as we can. And so we created a formula. I told you guys about this a while ago. It's called Detox Pro Plus. There's your QR code. You go watch the videos on the detox. Talks a little bit about what it does. It's a formula that combats toxic overload by eliminating those harmful toxins we discussed. It helps. It's a daily detoxifier. When I made this, I wanted to make sure that we had a formula that you could take every day and that was safe for children to take. You can give it to your babies. I give it to my dogs. Literally, you can give this to any living creature, and a little bit goes a long way. It targets the major toxins. It promotes cellular repair. This is a big one for gut repair. Big one for gut repair. Reduces the systemic inflammatory burden, and it helps improve immune function. So how does it work? So this is what's in it. So it's a very unique blend of several what are called binders and detoxifiers. So fulvic and humic acid are organic compounds that are found in the soil. And by the way, in the soil, there's a lot of really healthy things, if you know how to extract it and get it into the body. Soil-based bacteria and soil-based organisms, you ever heard of ivermectin before? Ivermectin is a soil-based bacteria, soil-based microbe. That was actually discovered in Japan, by the way. It was discovered on a golf course in the ground right by Mount Fuji. What's in the ground? What comes out of a volcano? I wonder what comes out of that. Oh, some of these minerals do. And so by the way, just so you guys know, some of the compounds that we get, in fact, our zeolite, our clinicalite zeolite that we get, comes from Mount St. Helena region. And let me just jump to zeolite. The zeolite that we use is a really specific type of zeolite. In fact, it's a clinicalite zeolite, which is a naturally occurring mineral. It's like a little honeycomb. It's like a hard sponge. And what does it do? It attracts heavy metals and toxins into it. And why is it important to get your zeolite from somewhere like Mount St. Helena? Let me explain that. Most zeolites come from volcanic ash around oceans, like Hawaii. But a lot of that volcanic ash and that zeolite has gone into the ocean. What's the ocean filled with? Toxins and other heavy metals, other types of salts and things of that nature. So you get a zeolite that's a sponge, but it's already halfway filled up because of where it originated from. That's not good. So we've got it that's minimum of 40 foot down in the ground. It's a clean zeolite. So the zeolite binds and removes heavy metals. It's a really good alkalizer for the body. A doctor by the name of Dr. Otto Weinberg won a Nobel Prize in the 1940s. And he found that if you keep the body in a state of alkalinity, it reduces the environment for symptoms, sicknesses, and diseases. That's why all my patients, I have them do a pH urinalysis test to monitor their pH, because a pH between a 7 and an 8.5 is an ideal pH that we want to have. And anything below that, well, is problematic. The zeolite also enhances immune function by reducing toxic load, and it improves the toxic reabsorption of leaky gut syndrome. We're going to take a break in a little while. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about leaky gut and how that really causes systemic toxicity and can even lead to really serious inflammatory conditions. Zeolite grabs those toxins out. You mix that with the fulvic and humic acid, the minerals. So think about this. If I have a cell, and in that cell, there's a toxin, and I pull that toxin out, there's now a hole in that cell. Well, I gotta fill that with something, because if not, more toxins are gonna go in there. So zeolite pulls out toxins, we have to backfill it with something. And one of those things we can backfill it with is fulvic and humic acid. It's a very powerful antioxidant, has a tremendous amount of minerals in it. That the fulvic and humic acid supports mitochondria. It's a fuel for that mitochondria, the energy in the body. It helps with oxidative stress, and it aids in digestive repair. You see how this formula has a lot to do with digestive health? You're gonna find this formula combined with the Master Microbiotics truly is a game changer for people with GI problems. And then we put activated charcoal. Activated charcoal is a binder. Activated charcoal it's a form of carbon. And our bodies, we're a carbon-based organism. Did you know that? Right? And it absorbs toxins, heavy metals, helps with the digestive tract, reduces cellular inflammation. This is a big liver detoxifier, big one. And by the way, if we take out the heavy metals out of the body, you know what heavy metals feed? They feed parasites. So I use this in my practice as a parasite detoxifier. And every single person, which is like 80+% of the population, has some type of parasitic issue. I put them on the Master Microbiotics and I put them on the Detox Pro Plus. It's amazing what it does. The activated charcoal is really good for skin regeneration. When you clean out the liver, so listen to this, the intestine tract and the liver, if those are problematic, that's where acne comes from, in most cases. Not all of them, but probably 80 to 85%. So if we clean up the liver by using this formula, guess what it can do? It can clean up your skin, and that's a powerful deal. And then Shilajit is one of my favorite compounds. Who's ever heard of Shilajit before? Man, it's so good. Shilajit, first of all, Shilajit can improve your hormones. Shilajit helps improve testosterone, which men and women both need that. Okay, big time. But Shilajit also has folic acid in it. It supports mitochondria. It's got a bunch of trace minerals in our body that's just not in our food supply anymore. And we need those trace minerals. In fact, I think this slide, yeah, look at this. This is what's in that Shilajit. Did you know that there's about 100 minerals and nutrients that the human body needs to consume every day in order for it to be functioning at a healthy standpoint? We put all those, that's in the Shilajit. This is all in Shilajit. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. In a little bitty dropper. Put it in your water. Adults take 2 dropperfuls a day, kids take 1. And by the way, you can also take that, the Detox Pro Plus, put a little bit on your toothpaste, brush your teeth with it. It can make your teeth improve whiteness, helps with bacteria in your teeth, which is where gingivitis and a lot of gum disease comes from. By the way, we have all the papers that supports all this on that website. Because when I tell them, like, I have conversations with the regulators, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said all these things. And then I go, well, look at all these papers. And they go, well, I can't believe I didn't know these things. Like, there's nothing I'm going to say to you guys that we can't support through big science. That's amazing. Look what's all in this thing. By the way, we did a study recently on the Detox Pro Plus formula. It was a short study, 6-week study. Some of the things that came out of this was it reduced something called C-reactive protein in the human body. That's one of the most important inflammatory markers when it comes to overall health and well-being. If C-reactive protein is high, that's a big issue. And by the way, most of you that have anyone who comes to see me, if they come to see Dr. Eric as a patient and they have an MTHFR defect, I'm putting them on this formula for the rest of their life. That's just what's going on. That's the recommendation I'm going to have, because their body can't deal with these toxins that they're exposed to every day. Look at this. That study showed a 72% reduction in cadmium, lead, and PBAs. So it reduced heavy metals in the body. Got rid of all the food supply for the parasites and candida. And it also decreased C-reactive protein by 23% across the board. And it talks about all the different things that we did. So we put that study on the QR code as well. There's all the data research. This was really big. We saw a reduction in plastic particles. Now I'm going to tell you something. There's a big study that's going to be coming out probably May. They're going to try to get it out in April, but it's probably May. It's something that's happening because of the Make America Healthy movement that's going on. And they're showing all the plastics, heavy metals, and the toxins that are in our food and water supply. And it's becoming a conversational piece in America. And it's about to become a big conversational piece globally. And I'm telling you, when people see that and hear that, you're hearing it from me now, but when people see it and hear it all over social media, all over TikTok, all over all the doctors on television and social media, people are going to be looking for a solution. And you have one. Look what fulvic and humic acid can do. Reduces inflammation. It's been studied in helping with blood sugar issues and diabetes. Fulvic acid, humic acid helps colonize microbiome. It helps the bacteria in the body. That's a big, big deal. After this, we'll take a break, but we're going to come back and talk about the gut microbiome and colonizing bacteria. That's what we want to do. And humic acid is also an antiviral. So many people have a lot of latent viruses in their system. Epstein-Barr virus. Has anybody ever heard of Epstein-Barr virus before? Okay, so listen. Crazy to hear this. So there's been an 80% increase, 80% increase in the prevalence of Epstein-Barr virus ever since the end of 2020, early 2021. Anybody know what happened in 2020, early 2021? People getting COVID vaccines. By the way, that's in the medical journals. That's not even political, that's a fact. In most people who got a COVID shot, Epstein-Barr virus has flared up in them. Epstein-Barr virus is a virus that most of us come in contact with all the time. I mean, it's a very common virus, but our body deals with it and puts it into our microbiome, but if our system gets stressed out, it expresses again. And that's why we're seeing so much chronic fatigue happening right now. They're calling it post-COVID syndrome or long hauler syndrome. It's really mitochondrial dysfunction. And when the mitochondrial dysfunctions, the immune system doesn't work, and the body's got to do certain things to help with it. So how many of you know people that could benefit from just that, from what I told you right there? Almost every person that you know. There's just nothing like this out there. Here's some more stuff on folic acid. Folic acid helps with the microbiota. And remember the microbiota, because we're going to talk about that. The microbiome is the bacteria in the body, but the bacteria all come together and make bacterial DNA. And bacterial DNA mixes with your DNA and tells your cells what to do. And this helps with that. So this also helps, by the way, I just wanted you to see a toxicology of this because I want you to know how safe this formula is. You literally could take the whole little 2-ounce bottle, which will last you a month, and drink the whole thing, and it's not gonna help you, but it's not gonna cause any damage to you. It's very safe. By the way, zeolites, this is about the zeolites that are in the formula. These zeolites can help with neurodegenerative disease. I thought that was important to show you because I've explained to you how big of a problem neurodegenerative issues are right now. Zeolites also are very safe. So I wanted you to see the safety of this as well. Because it's good to know that things work, but I think it's even more important to know that they're safe for you to take and to give to your patients and recommend to your friends and family. Zeolites also help the gut barrier, so leaky gut syndrome. This zeolites help with that. It reduces inflammation systemically, and it also has effects on reducing biomarkers in blood that are problematic, primarily inflammation. And you guys saw that on that study. C-reactive protein went down. Here's activated charcoal. Activated charcoal is helps a lot right here with gut microbiota. That's the DNA of the microbiome. It's been shown to be a positive intervention. It's an old therapy. I mean, if you call, in the US we have something called the poison control hotline. If you call and say, my kid just ate such and such or drank a bottle of NyQuil or something, the poison control hotline says, go get some charcoal and give it to him, because it sucks it up like a sponge. Now, I will tell you, just so you are prepared for this, this is black. The color of this water is black. So when you have a bowel movement, do not freak out and send me a picture of your bowel movements saying that there's a different color to my bowel movements, they're now black, and we have a problem. That's to be expected, okay? So just don't freak out when that happens. There are some major benefits to Shilajit. I told you already, it improves testosterone naturally. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I have in my own private practices gotten away from giving injectable testosterone to people because I found that once I use these peptides, once people live their genetic lifestyle and we give them Shilajit, that their testosterone levels typically go up on their own. By the way, Shilajit's been also used and studied to help with traumatic brain injuries, so it can help with the brain. It's also been shown, there's your testosterone study right there. It also helps with photocomplex cognitive issues. So it helps wire and fire brain activity. And then it also helps against amyloid. So amyloids are, when you have a head injury, the proteins fold in the brain. And that amyloid plaque can lead to things like CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and brain damage to that. So it's really pretty powerful what this can help with. Shilajit can help with behavior. Chronic fatigue can be improved with it. That's what the studies show. Helps with heart health. Helps with inflammation. I mean, you see how powerful this is? You see how powerful that formula is? How many of you know someone that you think could benefit from that detox formula? Everybody. So In this session, we just covered the cellular reset formula, which is the tripeptide product, the first of its kind ever on the market. We covered the neuro reboot, which helps rewire and refire brain activity, first of its kind ever on the market. And then we covered the Detox Pro Plus formula, as well as the cell signal. So far so good? You guys catching all this? This is good stuff? You guys like it? You think people could really benefit? Yeah, me too. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take another short break, 15 minutes. So let's come back in 15 minutes. I have two things.